Hello and welcome to the Therapy Floor with Dr. Ritz and Dr. Vicky.
We're on the floor getting deep into the human experience, unpacking everyday dilemmas through the lenses of two psychologists.
Let's start unpacking today's dilemma.
Let's go for it.
This one comes in from a lady in her mid-50s. She says, I have two sisters and I am the middle sister. I love my sisters equally, but they are always at loggerheads and there's always this upmanship and I have to listen to both of them. Whilst their stories are similar, they aren't the same. They're each telling me their own version. I'm trying to get them to see that they are both individuals and see things differently. They either sit down and talk it out or quit using me as an emotional punch bag. I don't see what they see. What I see is, are you really arguing about this? I really just want everyone to be able to get along. We have a holiday coming up together and I want it to be enjoyable. I do feel like I'm the peacemaker of the family, and I will always go out of my way to help my sisters and my mum. I believe that if I can do something to help, then I should try and help. We are at an age where I believe our personalities aren't going to change. Can't we just accept we are all individuals? I'm sick and tired of listening to it. Please, can you help me?
Oh dear. I don't think this is a unique situation to her, is it? I think that, families can come with their trials and their tribulations. So I don't think she's alone here. But I think there are some good things for us to pick out in this one. So maybe we can start with something that really stood out to me, which was I like to be the peacemaker. I think she used the word peacemaker.
That stood out to me too.
Yeah, okay. So I'm a real advocate for us really taking a look at the roles that we play in our families, in our workplaces, in our relationships of all kinds, really. Because I think we can intentionally and unintentionally step into a role, or other people can usher us into a role. And I think if we identify with something so much, I think it's good for us to take a step back and think, okay, but why? Why am I stepping into this role? Does it actually work for me? Is it causing me distress? Is it causing me harm? Is it helping the other people around me? So the first thing I want to say to you is this role of the peacemaker. When did this start? Have you always felt like you've been the peacemaker in your relationships across the board? And if you are always the peacemaker, first of all, that is a really tiring role to play, isn't it? Literally, like if we think about peacemaker, you're bringing peace to war when there's like a chaotic, troubling situation. That's a real heavy burden to bear.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you if this is something that you actually want to continue being this person, because it seems like your sisters and your mum kind of fall back and lean on you to become this person for them.
Well, that's what I was really interested in when she said the word peacemaker. I wanted to know, when did that role start?
Yeah.
Like, when did you pick up that role? Did somebody hand it over to you? And this might not be explicitly handing it over. It could be quite implicit. You know, her dad's not really mentioned in this. I wonder if he is also a peacemaker. Has he been a peacemaker? Is he still around? Like,
is he even there?
What? Yeah, is he a part of their lives? Was he a part of their lives? I'd be quite interested to hear a little bit more about that. But also this sense of, where did this identity for you come from? Where did you learn it from? Where did you pick it up from?
Yeah.
What also drew you to it? Because I think sometimes there's going to be things in us that draw us to different types of, let's call them labels of personalities.
Yeah.
So like a peacemaker might be a label of a personality. And I wonder what's within her that's maybe drawing her or did initially draw her towards that. Because it does sound like it is a burden that she's carrying.
Yeah. But also something that she thinks that she should be doing as well, because she said, if I can help, I should, more or less, I should help.
She's got a rule for living there.
Oh, do you want to say a bit more about that?
Yeah, I'm really am an advocate for understanding what your rules for a living are. And I think people don't often even know what that phrase means.
Yeah.
When we are growing up, when we are learning about the world, whether that's in our families, our school systems, our peer groups, our even, I'd say, early relationship, we start to identify rules that are placed on us in how we have to live and maybe conform in the world.
Yeah.
So when people use words like I should, I have to, I must, that always pinpricks my ears to be like, there's a rule for living in that. Where's that one come from? Do they even know that it exists?
Yeah. And what would happen if she doesn't abide by this rule? Can she have some flexibility there? And generally we try to encourage people to be more flexible with their thinking, with their belief system, like, you know, not to be so black and white and so rigid, because I think we then struggle when we come into when we navigate through the world and we come up against blocks, because we kind of have to be adaptable when we're living amongst other people.
I wonder if that's what's happened now, because maybe there is this inflexibility within her, this black and white thinking of I'm either a peacemaker or like, what's the other side of not being a peacemaker to her? I'm not a peacemaker. Well, what does that look like to her? And I wonder if that feels quite blank at the moment. So all she really knows how to identify with is being a peacemaker. So she doesn't have that flexible flavor.
Yeah. So so that's an important question to put back to her. So if you weren't the peacemaker, who would you be? And also, if you weren't the peacemaker, what would your family do? If they didn't know that they could always come to you and kind of act as if they're like emotionally dumping on you, what then would they do? May they actually start to work some things out for themselves? Would they start to become a bit more constructive with their thinking? Because it sounds like there's no resolution going on here. It's just dumping. And sometimes when you dump, the person that's dumping can feel really cathartic because I've just laid it all out there, but then there's no onus or responsibility on me to actually do something or to make a change. They just want to kind of like alleviate themselves.
They're doing a brain dump on her.
Yeah, they're doing a dump. So I wonder if you took a step back from playing this role of being a peacemaker, would they actually sort out their own ish and deal with it themselves rather than dumping it on you? Would they start to become a bit more constructive? Would they start to resolve their own conflict? Or maybe would they actually see that some of these things aren't even worth discussing or fighting about? Like she said, some of the things, you know, she questions, gosh, are we really arguing about this? They may also come to that place where they think, actually, is this really important? But I think this is really important in dynamics, in family dynamics, especially, to, you know, change what you're doing, because it will upset the system, but the system will reform and reconfigure in a way that actually could be more beneficial and healthy. So they will have to change because you are changing.
I think you touched on something really important there, because what you're really talking about is this essence of she's taking responsibility for other people. And when we stop taking responsibility for grown adults who can take responsibility for themselves, it's going to cause ripples. It's going to cause tantrums. It's going to cause disruption. And this is where I think she has to hold on tight to herself to tolerate that. I think she has to tolerate that discomfort that her family are probably going to feel when she says, you know what? I'm going to start taking more responsibility for me because I'm not enjoying this. And you can take responsibility for what you're feeling or what you're thinking.
And you know what the funny thing is? What could happen, not saying this definitely would happen, what could happen is that they will join forces to find trouble with you, to find offense with you for a while. So just be prepared that that could also happen. It's so funny because when people stop fighting each other and there's like another person that comes in and tries to like push back, sometimes they kind of unite and then fight the
they found a common ground.
They found a common
because
ground.
they haven't found a common ground yet.
Yeah,
and she's the
yeah.
one who's trying to constantly find the common ground for them.
Yeah, when they need to do it themselves.
Yeah. So you're right, she might become the common ground for a while, and it might be fiery.
Yeah.
It might not be pleasant.
Yeah.
But again, I would encourage toleration there and support, finding where you can then get support from that, because it might, I don't think you'll be able to get it from your sisters there.
Yeah.
So where else can you rely on for support and comfort whilst you navigate this process of taking a step back, and be very prepared for these ripples to start forming. Like, if there are no ripples, I would almost say it hasn't worked.
Yeah.
Because there needs to be. The structure needs to change, and that's going to feel really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
The other thing that you touched on that I really want to come back to, and she used, I think, quite a profound word here, emotional punch bag.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, emotional punch bag.
Yeah. So this dumping on it, this brain dumping, she becomes this emotional punch bag for her two sisters. And I want to hear more about that.
I was going to say, I wonder what they're doing. Yeah. How are they punching you? Like, how is it impacting you, actually?
Because I wonder if she could get more into, because it almost feels like a bit of a part, like she's told us, but it's quite a passing statement. And I'd want to get more in touch with that side to really understand, you know, what this conflict that is obviously impacting you emotionally, how does that look like in your daily life? How is that turning up for you? Where is it impacting you? In what different domains of your life is this having an effect?
Yeah.
And giving space for that, because I think if she can get more in tune with that, hopefully that's going to empower her to put those boundaries down for herself.
And it's just very useful information. So when she goes and has this discussion where she is placing those boundaries in with her sisters, or maybe perhaps also with her mum, she can clearly say, I can understand that you see me as like a safe place to be able to, or a neutral party to come and, you know, share your concerns with. At the same time, it is leaving me feeling X, Y, Z. It is affecting me in my work, you know, or in my other relationships in this way. And I can no longer tolerate that. So that's why I'm going to be taking a step back. So I think having that discussion with herself and that acknowledgement will really help her, will kind of like arm her with ammunition to kind of say, this is the deal, this is how it's impacting me, and this is why I'm going to take a step back.
Exactly, because she's making the step back about her.
Yeah.
It's not about them.
Yeah.
It's not like, I'm taking a step back because you're too much. Actually, I'm taking a step back because, yes, I'm the safe place for you to come and talk to me. But when it feels like too much for me, this is what happens to me. And so I need to protect myself. I need to protect my space.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's me doing that. And then I think you're kind of left with two options there. You know, the boundary that you've placed down, whether they acknowledge it or not, you know, I don't think anyone can predict what that outcome's going to be.
Yeah.
And then I think it's being able to tolerate the discomfort without fixing, because you've already got that urge to be a peacemaker. So that's going to trigger you again, because you're going to see things changing, you're going to see the shifts, and that's going to prickle you a bit to be like, oh, but okay, if I can just fix this bit, or if I can just get them to see this, and so you're really going to have to hold back, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Hold back and let them figure it out. Hand over the baton, hand over the responsibility.
Yeah.
Give them the space to think.
Yeah. And also,
not just dump.
And maybe one way, if she wants to kind of satisfy that itch to help, one way she can help is to continue amplifying this message. I really think it would be good if you talk to a therapist about this. Yeah, because it's been going on for so long. It's clearly affecting you. I really think you should talk to a therapist. Here's a number of someone that I can recommend. And then if your sister comes back, or one of them comes back again and wants to kind of, because they will want to try and test the boundaries, remind them again, yeah, I can't help how I used to, but remember I told you this is how I'm going to help. Here's the number of that therapist again.
I love that idea.
Do you want to try? Because I think that they may need an external place to really, like to talk about the impact this is having on them, and possibly even to connect and maybe have a family therapist sit with both of them. But if they can't do that, at
Or
least,
even all three of you.
yeah, and including your mum, who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, that could also be helpful.
I really like that idea of the message that she's going to portray, for her to be really clear about that and be consistent, so that every time the knock happens,
Yeah,
it's like,
she's
this is
ready.
my message.
Yeah.
This is my message. I know you're going to ask me this.
Yeah.
I know you're going to probably ask me again next week. Now, this is going to be my continued message to you.
Yeah.
I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, I hope so. But thank you for sending that in. I like that one.
Yeah, me too. It got me thinking that one as well, actually.
Yeah.
There's always family systems at play.
I know.
No family has it figured out perfectly.
No.
And it will change as well. I she said, I know people like their personalities are set. I think we kind of touched on this, but we didn't really maybe go into it into much detail. And I think personalities can be set to a degree, but there is always space for people to change. And I think also when people do change, that can also be, because I guess you're going to change now for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they might be thinking, well, her personality's set, and now all of a sudden she's changed in her mid-50s.
Yeah.
So,
and even if like people's core identity doesn't change, dynamics can change.
Behaviours can change.
Yeah. So,
intentions can change, or people can be more aware of their intentions so that their behaviours change.
Yeah. So good luck with that.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Should we move on to our next dilemma?
Let's do it.
Okay, so this dilemma comes from a woman in her 30s, and she says, "Hi, ladies." Hi back.
Hi.
I'm worried about how I need to bring up my child in the world of social media likes and fakery. Ooh. Do I need to do something now from when they are a toddler or a young child, like get them into a hobby they really enjoy, so I support them from needing validation from likes or followers when they get older? How do I support my child suffering from peer pressure to do with socials? I don't want them to have a life where they are always online or feel they need to conform to a certain way or be a certain type of person. This is from the perspective of a young child who doesn't know social media yet. Please help.
I feel like that resonates so much with me. So, firstly, I think I want to say thank you for just sharing that, because I think you're sharing it from quite a vulnerable space. You can obviously see what's going on in the world. You obviously really want to protect your child, your children. And from what I'm hearing, and I guess my own experience of it, I don't see that coming from a place of necessarily control, but I think it's more this balance between feeling quite anxious sometimes in the way that the world is going and wanting to protect our children from that. And it's just bringing up so many thoughts for me, and so many just like memories and images are flashing through my head at the moment. But what really struck me is, as you were reading that, it reminded me of my eldest and his transition to starting school and the months leading up to that. And something was really bubbling away at me, and I almost could not put my finger on it for some time, like what it was.
Yeah.
Because he was, in nursery, he was going to, toddler groups and preschool and stuff like that, going on play dates. And I couldn't figure out, like, what is it that's just causing me to feel a bit uneasy? And I guess what I really was able to reconcile and later on was, for the last 4 years, I've really been able to keep him in this protected bubble. Yes, he's gone to nursery, and yes, he's made friends, but he's not necessarily had peers. And so he's about to start school, be with this year group, till he goes to year 6 and even possibly beyond. And that protection that I've been able to do from the world, like that's just, it's gone. It's gone from that aspect. I can't protect him in that way anymore. Like he, of course, there's going to be people, his peers, that influence him, that are going to be like, have you seen this, or talk about this, or talk about that? You know, it's going to develop and change. And I think as a parent, that can be really anxiety provoking, like really anxiety provoking. And it's almost like a need to know, what can I do to prevent that? And I think the answer is you can't. You can't prevent it.
You can't prevent it, but you can. It's so funny actually, because it's just as what you were saying about protecting him. I just suddenly had this image, and I wonder actually if there is some form of protection you can have.
Say more.
But seeing it from like the inside,
internal protection.
I'm just thinking
that's what I was about to.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I love it though. We're on the same page.
But I was thinking of like immunization, and like when we have injections, like they strengthen our immunity. So even though you'll still have the external influences, but they're strengthened from within.
It was making me think of Roger's internal locus of control.
Oh, yeah.
And that's it. It's letting go of that external control.
Yeah.
And trying to get some sort of internal control for yourself and for your child. And I think that's that you can build that through trust, through connection, through clear boundaries. And we can say more on each one of these, but it's letting go of that external control, and as you said, going internal with it.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on what that looks like?
So when I think about being built up from the inside out, I'm really thinking of really instilling a clear sense of like identity and belonging and acceptance. So maybe 3 of them, like a 3 chord. Because I think if a child knows that they're fully accepted, first of all, no, actually, if they know who they are, and how do they know who they are? They know who they are because you tell them. They learn about it from you, actually. They know who they are. They know what family they kind of belong to. They know the value systems of the family. They start to develop their own values and things that really matter to them, and you kind of reinforce that, and like, yeah, you are someone who is very courageous, aren't you? And you do like to take risks, and you do like to stand up for things that aren't right, or you do like to protect so do you know what I mean? Like,
you're observing them and you're mirroring their behaviors back to them, and like you're picking up on that. I see this in you, and I'm going to reflect that back to you, and I want you to see that I can see this in you, and I love that about you. And I'm encouraging that within you.
Exactly. So they really build up a strong sense of who they are, because that will get challenged in school. They will have people trying to push them, test them, and I think it's not to say that they won't wobble, and they may have moments where they try to act out, or act in another fashion, but they can come back. They can come back quickly, like, oh, actually, no, this doesn't sit right with me. This is actually who I think I am. So identity is a big one.
And if they can't figure that out, that you formed enough of a safe space between you two, or between the family unit, that they can keep coming back to the family, so that you can figure it out as a system.
Yes, exactly. And that's the definition of secure attachment, isn't it? Being a safe place for your child to go out. You want them to go out and to test the waters of this dangerous, like, exciting world, but you want to be that safe place that they can come back to and be reminded of who they are, reminded of how important they are, and how loved and accepted they are just for who they are. And then they can go back out, like you boost them and they can go back out again, they come back in. So I think, being that safe place for your child is going to be really important in navigating.
And just kind of adding on to that, I think part of also being that safe place is tolerating their mistakes as they're trying to figure this out.
Talk about it.
Because I think that's part of the protection, right? We don't want them to make mistakes. We want to we don't want them to experience pain. And I think that's so normal
Yeah.
to have that desire, but recognize actually it's a desire, it's a fantasy, it's not healthy, it's not normal. I need to show them that, yes, go and make those mistakes. And when you do, you can come back to me.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be met with rejection and disappointment. You're going to be met with acceptance, understanding. Okay, now we've got there. Let's figure it out. What do you need? How do we get this through together? And again, that comes back to that safety and helping them to create a sense of their self-worth and their identity. Because moving on to this idea of, pressures from peers and social media, because you talked about social media there.
Yeah.
I think social media, it preys on people with low self-worth. That's what we're really looking at, aren't we? And so if you can give your child or a person the tools and the capacity to develop a really strong sense of self-worth, that is going to get dented and probably shattered from time to time. But you show them how they can build that up. And modeling is a huge part of this.
Yeah.
Modeling to them that you're going to get knocked or that you have been knocked and how you build yourself back up. Modeling to them where maybe you might feel pressured to do things and what your state of mind looks like, how you cultivate your own ideas, your own identity, your own way of maybe going against the grain at times.
Even modeling how to use social media.
Yes.
And, I think parents can have boundaries for their kids that sometimes seem unfair, because they may look at you being on your phone 24/7 and think, well, what does that mean? That only adults get to be on their phone all the time? And well, yes, because an adult can make their own choices. But I think it's also about modeling, actually, I'm going to have a break right now, or we're going to have some time where we are going to connect with other people or be on our phones or like watch things, but then there's going to be a time where we can put it away too.
Well, this is, I think, great saying that, because she talked about this idea, didn't she, of a hobby? Like, what can I do right now? And I think that, I don't think you need to really even go as far as hobbies right now at this age. Just stay in the here and now. And what I mean by that is unstructured play for kids, for toddlers, for preschoolers is really all that they need. They don't need to have like all the toys in the world or all these hobbies or everything filled up in their diary. They just need your attention. It can be as simple as getting a leaf in the garden or getting 4 leaves and role playing something together. And what I would really encourage, and what I found in myself as well, and I'm not saying by any means that this is easy, but when I am making the intention of we're going to have some meaningful time, it's actually putting my phone in another room. If I'm wearing my watch, taking it off, putting it in another room, and having unstructured one-on-one or two-on-one or wherever it might be time with the kids without an agenda, without that this has to lead to something or go somewhere. And just watching them, trusting yourself, getting back to adult play and what that looks like. I don't think we play enough as adults.
No, and also this, I hope this is okay to say, but because you do speak about having kids. But it reminds me actually of something you said to me a while back, which was just monitoring your own social media use. And I think it was when you were like playing, or when the kids have their bath.
Bath and bedtime.
Intentionally putting your phone down, because they kind of play with themselves and kind of like amongst themselves. But and that's your time to read and catch up on stuff. But actually you have taken the decision to intentionally.
Because I used to think, right, they're in the bath, so they actually can't climb on me. I'm going to use this time to just sit on the toilet, watch them while they're in the bath, and just be on my phone or answer messages or do something or whatever. And actually, it just I found it really unsatisfying. I found it really unfulfilling. And I was also thinking, what message am I sending them? Am I kind of showing them all that I'm finding this boring? And maybe I am finding it boring, and I think that's okay.
That's also okay
to say. But on an everyday basis, I personally was not enjoying it. It didn't become fulfilling. It just almost became like habits in a way. Like they're in the bath, let me grab my phone.
Yeah.
Let me do this, let me do that. And actually what I've started to do, which I shared with you, is they have their bath and I still might read, but I might actually just read a book.
Oh yeah, that's it.
I was like, I'm actually going to use this time to show them I have a hobby too, that's away from my phone, and I'm going to read a book. And yes, I'm happy to put my book down, and you know, if they want to show me something that they're doing in the bath, to be like watching them, and you know, whatever I might feel, reflect that back to them. But I also find then I'm also not as annoyed to be like, oh, I just need to respond to this. I just need to get back to this. Let's show me in a minute. That it feels easier to almost put your book down.
Yeah.
And then be like, oh yeah, show me. What was that? Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I also want to talk about this sense of belonging as well, and how important that is, because it makes me think of just how important belonging is in terms of, it really kind of can govern or shape people or cause them to behave in a particular way. And I think the whole thing with peer pressure is about wanting to belong, isn't it? And wanting to not be an outsider in your peer group. But again, having that real like sense of belonging at home can go some way in helping a child feel like, okay, even though I may not fully belong in this scenario, I do belong to someone and to some people, and some people belong to me, and that's my family. But it also got me thinking of, you know, people who do extreme things to feel like they belong. I'm thinking of people that join gangs. And maybe that's not intentionally the first thing that comes to mind. Like there are other things that may appeal to them, like the lifestyle, money, whatever it may be, power. But there is a sense of like, we're in this together.
It's again creating another type of family unit.
It is. And I always think about the army as well, and how strong, I think, for it to work, really, for them to be successful, how strongly bonded they have to be, and to feel like we're in this, we belong together.
We're all beating, we're all marching to the beat of the same drum.
Yeah. But you can do that.
Well, I kind of just created an idea there. What's your family drum? What's the beat?
Yeah.
What's your family? What's that motto you want to have?
Yeah.
What do you want them to march to? Which are then one day they'll have their own drums and their own beats that they will march to. But right now, you know, this lady that's speaking to us or asked us this dilemma, I'd be wanting to know, you know, almost because you want to trust your kids, but I also want you to come back and trust yourself. Right? You don't need a manual for this. You don't need a manual to be a mother. You've got your instincts, you've got your gut, you've got your values, you've got your purpose. You obviously know what type of life you want to have and what you want to create, what you want to give to your children. I think come back to that. I think sometimes we also, because there's so much out there, like social media, it almost feels like the answer has to be complicated. Because social media can feel so complex and complicated. But I would say keep it simple and come back to you. You know, if you're married, if you're with a partner, come back to them as well. Like, what is it that you want to co-create together? And use that to form your family system, your family values. What is it you want to instill with your children?
Yeah.
And trusting yourself. Because I think when you can model trust within yourself, and then you're modeling trust to your child, that gives them the confidence and the mindset to start trusting themselves.
And to start making decisions.
Exactly. Themselves. And to start evaluating and to start recognizing, okay, everyone might be doing this, but actually, I don't think I want to do that. Oh, I don't think that works for me. Or I don't think I like that.
This is who I am. Yeah. This is what I want to do.
Yeah. And it's reminded me of another occasion with my eldest. I feel like I'm talking about him a lot today. He's on my mind. Where we went to a party, and it was a kids' party with his peer group, And it was very much like, you know, the kids were all playing together, and initially he was playing as well, and then he came over to me and he was like, I want you to play with me. And even then my thoughts were, oh no, but you're at a party, you're meant to play with your peers, you're not meant to play with me. So initially the kind of pull was to encourage him to go and do that.
Yeah.
And then I kind of had to, you know, I kind of think I sat back. I can't remember. Maybe I did it for a bit, and then he kept wanting me. He kept wanting me, and I think I really challenged myself there to think, okay, I think he's actually trying to communicate something to you here. That okay, maybe everyone else is conforming to this certain way of playing with just their peers.
Yeah.
But if you're here, actually, I'm choosing to play with you, and I felt in that moment I needed to make that okay for him. Like, if that's what you want, okay, maybe we've tried to be with the peers and you don't want that anymore and you want me, fine. I'm trusting you that you're trusting yourself at the moment. And I want to give you that. I want to show you that I see that.
And there's not a fine line, or I think there's a balance to it, or an art to it rather, because it's not a science. There's no hard and fast rules.
But I think in that moment you do question yourself, is this the right thing to do?
Yeah, because obviously you don't want to again overprotect, and you want to kind of push your child into uncomfortable situations so they grow in confidence.
But how do you know where the balance is?
And that's why I think it's an art rather than a science.
I really like
that you have to kind of just play with it and see, be creative. And I think over time, again, like Ritz was saying, trusting your instincts as a mum, you'll know when something is, they're really feeling insecure here, and I need to push them to feel more secure, versus actually they're just telling me what they want and their preference. And sometimes I may need to honour that. So,
and also that we might get it wrong.
Exactly. And it's okay.
Yeah, and that when we do, it's fine. It's fine to get it wrong. You're going to get it wrong. Almost preparing yourself. You're going to get it wrong. You're not always going to know what the artful way.
Yeah.
Is that the right way to say it?
The artful way. Yeah.
to do it is. But just coming back to that, you can have either like conversations around it or play around it, or just even like feelings that you can't describe around it, but holding it. Just holding it within your unit.
Cool. Hopefully that's been useful to you. I really like that question. I think it's a really apt one.
I felt like it was really useful to me too.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I really liked that question.
So, thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
I think we have time for one more, don't we?
Yeah, let's do one more today.
Yeah, cool.
Let's move on to it. So this dilemma comes from a man in his mid-40s, and he says, I am having an affair and it's been going on for 6 months. I'm in a long-term relationship with my partner and I've been with him for 5 years. I know that my values lie in monogamy, but something is drawing me to 2 different men at the moment. I picked up a new hobby and this is where I met the guy I'm having the affair with. It's really fun, sexy, and I love the adventure that we're on. On the other hand, my long-term partner and I have a deep-rooted love for each other. Our relationship is safe, secure, and steady. I don't know what to do or who to pick. Please help.
So this is a dilemma that I think comes up quite frequently in therapy, well, at least for me anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know if it comes up frequently for you.
Well, I was going to say, does it come up individually or with couples or both?
Individually.
Yeah, it comes up for me a lot individually.
Yeah. I think in couples it can kind of turn up when both parties are kind of reeling from the effects and the consequences of a betrayal in their relationship. But yeah, this comes up a lot in my individual therapy. And I think he really names it right there, that there are 2 types of love here that he's experiencing. And it's like, which do you pick? It's the eros, the passionate, exciting,
he calls it sexy, doesn't he?
Sexy
Adventure.
kind of love. Yep. And then we have his long-term partner here who represents the like philia love, which is the more like steady and more friendship based and like a deep enduring love and respect for each other. And yeah, I really feel the dilemma here because clearly he's not getting all of his needs met in one relationship. So I think the first thing that kind of springs to my mind is, yeah, what kind of love do you want? He said that he values monogamy. I don't know if that's necessarily changed or whether he feels like he is butting heads against something that he currently values, which is monogamy. But maybe he also needs to be honest with himself about whether this is still a value for him.
That's what I was going to say. When you were asking, what does he love? I was going to take it a bit deeper, and even like before figuring out what does he love, like where are his values right now?
Yeah.
And we've talked about this a bit today, but it's okay that if they're changing, it's all right that they've changed. Like it might not fit your current landscape.
Yeah.
And then, okay, yeah, maybe there's something you need to do about that. But just try and get more in tune with where are you right now? What's your value set right now?
Yeah. I think that will also help with, he hasn't even said this, but I think I can draw upon my experience in therapy for people who are having affairs or who have had affairs, the guilt and the shame that comes with it. And I think sometimes that lasts even longer than the implications of having an affair. And I think knowing... I think that some people can really hold on to it and it kind of fuses with their identity. And sometimes they struggle to forgive themselves when another person has forgiven them.
Like they're carrying this mark.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm tainted. I'm tainted. Yeah. And so it kind of, we talk about identity so much, but it starts to fuse with their identity and it lingers and yeah, it's really insidious. So I think having a real good grounding of what are your values right now would help you in that recovery. If you do want to tell your partner or you do want to move on from the new person that you've found, it will help you to kind of put down the guilt if you know that, okay, but who I am is changing and I have to accept that. And now I need to make a decision about how do I move forward in the new direction in which my values are really aligned.
But I don't even think it's actually about putting down the guilt. I think it's putting down the shame.
Shame, exactly.
And holding the guilt.
Exactly. Sorry. I did the thing where people conflate the two or confuse the two, but the two are very different things, aren't they?
So different.
Because guilt is appropriate.
Yeah.
Guilt is, I've hurt you.
Yeah, and you obviously, I think, again, he's not said this, that that's how he feels towards his current partner, but I imagine there must be some level of guilt.
Yeah. Well, it's gone against at least a previously held value.
Yeah.
So guilt is appropriate, and like you can hold the guilt, but shame is when it starts to seep into your identity. I am a bad person, rather than I have done a bad thing. It's I am a bad person.
That's where the shame really starts to hold us back.
Yeah.
I think if he can get in touch with what that is, that's going to maybe, because if he does want monogamy, let's say, like if he actually identifies that's what I want, then I think getting in touch with his values will help him to maybe identify, well, what was the root cause of the affair coming about? How did it come about? Not just on the surface level, what was going on inside you, what was potentially missing, and naming that there was something missing in your relationship that either you weren't aware of or you were aware of, you're both aware of it, you're both maybe not aware of it, that you found somebody else who could satisfy that for you.
And it's not the other person's fault that they couldn't give you what you need. I think it's more about the relationship. Like the relationship itself is lacking in some way, which means that you have gone elsewhere to find a suitable answer to your needs.
Well, I already feel like I know what it is. It feels like the relationship was lacking sexiness, fun,
Play,
adventure, playfulness.
Yeah.
Playful. This is what we were talking about, weren't we?
Yeah.
Adults knowing how to play.
We need play still.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you can find a way to bring it back.
You can.
Because
that's if you want to.
If you want to. Because I think it is right that at the start of a relationship, it is passionate, it is exciting, because that's what we need in order to kid ourselves to stick with someone long term. We do. We need that dopamine hit. We do need our brain chemistry to change to help us in making encouraging us to stick with one partner for a long time. But that does have to make way for the more solid and enduring love. But it shouldn't go away completely.
No.
And I think this is where maybe even a lot of couples actually will face this. We hear about people talking about the honeymoon phase. It doesn't last forever.
The itch, the 7-year itch.
The 7-year itch. Yeah, it doesn't. But that doesn't mean that you kind of have to put it down if you don't want to. You don't have to put down this love and take up a new one that's fresh and exciting and gives you a new lease of life.
Because it could just happen again.
It could happen again. Yeah. It probably will happen again. So, yeah. Find ways to kind of, if that's what you want, and be honest with your partner about what is missing in the relationship, not in them. And how can the two of you bring about some more mystery, desire, playfulness?
I think so, because I think it's this. He's living kind of two sides of the spectrum, isn't he? He's living stability and he's living novelty. So if you want to be with one person, how do you fuse the two together without fusing two people together? So how do you have a stable relationship that you have that companion factor to it?
Yeah.
But then you also have the fun in it.
Yeah.
That there's going to be elements of novelty. There's going to be moments where you're like, oh, we've not done that before. Well, that was exciting. Well, that was new. And I think you both have to be on board to make that happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one way that you could discuss this with your partner is not making them feel like they need to do something differently. But I know the temptation can be to look at the new partner and think, oh, he's adventurous, he's risk-taking. But maybe take it back to you and be honest with yourself about, okay, when someone presents me with this, I come alive in this way, or I really value spontaneity. Spontaneity does this for me, and role-playing does that for me. Like, be really clear about you.
Yeah, you have to
what
take
it does
ownership
for you.
of it, because I think the person that you're having the affair with at the moment, they almost represent a vessel.
Exactly. They can, it could just be a representation rather than him.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you start doing that, then you're going to compare these two people, which isn't fair to either one of them or to yourself, because actually you're just denying then what you do value.
Yeah.
Which is, as you said, this spontaneity, this lust, this glimmer, this glitter that he's wanting.
Yeah. Desire.
Desire. How do we keep desire alive when relationships tick on? I think it's a really important question.
It is a really important question. I know Esther Perel talks about this a lot. And she,
love her.
Yeah, I think she's got a book called Mating in Captivity. It's a really good book. And she talks about how over the years, over the ages, we've kind of like put everything into one person. They're our best friend, they're our lover, they're our confidant, they're X, Y, and Z. But that's too much pressure to put on one person. And actually, we need a village of people around us that will give us different things at different points in time. And so how you can keep your lover is to add a bit of mystery, add a bit of distance, because then there's space to miss someone, there's space to appreciate someone.
Keep that desire growing.
Exactly. So, yeah, I'd recommend that's a really good book for anyone who's thinking about how to keep the desire alive in their long-term relationship.
I totally agree, because I don't think couples should be enmeshed. it doesn't work when you're
No.
just sitting
No.
on top of each other and everything is the same and your values are the same. I don't think so. I think you have to have, as you said, separation in the sense where you have your two worlds and like part of your worlds form with each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're obviously not working the same jobs. I doubt that all your friends are going to be the same friends. You know, your choices, your opinions, your likes, your dislikes, they're not going to be identical.
No. No.
And difference can be celebrated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Difference, I think, keeps desire going.
It does. Yeah. Differences are what draw people together because no one wants to be in a relationship with themselves. So, yeah. I mean, alternatively, you may feel like you want to actually move with the new partner.
Yeah.
And you feel like
fair outcome.
The other relationship has run its course. And so then you'll also have to have these things in the back of your mind when you're thinking about entering into a new relationship and making way and making space for that more secure love.
If that's what you want.
Yeah.
Keep coming back to what is it that you want? Is, again, does secure love identify for you with being in a monogamous relationship? Or is your ideas of what a relationship looks like, is it changing?
Yeah.
Are there actually different elements to it that have maybe been sparked in you? I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to this. I think you know, or you will know, once you start to delve deeper into really, you know, what's brought this on, what's the internal conflict that's happening, what's your motivation behind all of this, what's your drive. I think that's going to illuminate yourself more to you. And when I've worked with individuals in therapy, I really just see it going one of three ways. You know, couples, or the individual rather, either stays in the long-term relationship in the couple because that's what they actually desire, what's what they want to work on. They realise, actually, no, I think it's come to its end, I'm moving on to either the affair or just even ending. It doesn't sometimes even have to necessarily mean that you end and you move to the person you're having the affair with. It's just actually it's come to its end. Or you're moving on to the person that you've had the affair with. Or actually, they still don't know. They're continuing with both. And again, neither of them are right or wrong. I know it doesn't feel nice. It might not feel nice for lots of parties involved. And this isn't really about that. That's not what I'm trying to say here. I guess what I'm trying to say is that these are kind of, once you start going down this reflective process, these are the possible outcomes that you will have. This is what I have seen in my therapy room.
Yeah.
And just as you're figuring that out, you're going to hold guilt within you. So try not to berate yourself further whilst you figure out what that looks like for you, which one you decide to go down.
Yeah, it may take some time to know. Matters of the heart always do.
Yeah, and you haven't, and if you don't find the resolution, you know, immediately, you haven't failed. If you try and figure out in therapy, you can't figure out, that hasn't failed.
Yeah, but we just have to be honest with you that there are some negative consequences that will arise out of this. And you have to accept that, fortunately or unfortunately. So yeah,
I hope that helps to get you thinking.
I hope that
at
helps.
least.
I think it might be a long road for you, but I really do hope that helps.
And I hope that on that road you have support.
Yeah.
That you have people that you can talk to.
Yeah.
To support you through it.
Definitely. Particularly a therapist. I recommend everyone get a therapist. Okay, those are our 3 dilemmas.
They were.
Yeah.
It's been good today.
It's been good. It's been lively.
Yeah, really lively.
Some good meaty.
I feel like I came alive today.
Yeah. Okay. So on that note, what have you learned today?
I really loved what you said. I think when we discussed our dilemma about mothering. I loved what you said, that mothering is not a science, it's an art.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's not a right or wrong way to do it. And I
Yeah.
think often we can get caught up in that. So I loved that. And I'm going to try and apply that motto more to my life and my unit.
Oh, nice.
That it's all an art. Even being a child is an art.
Yeah.
Being a partner is an art. Being a mother is an art. So thank you for those pearls.
That's all right.
Dr. V.
That's okay, Dr. Riffs. I learned, or something that I was reminded of, was just that intuition and coming back to that sense of like trusting yourself. And I know you were talking about it in regards to being a mum, but I think that can be applied in so many instances, like checking in with your instinct, checking in with your body. Like, what is it you really want? Like, pay attention and trust that kind of inner wisdom to guide you. So yeah, that's what I'm taking with me for the rest of my day, I think, and for the rest of the week. So yeah, let in my intuition and my inner wisdom guide me.
Yeah, good. What did you guys learn today? Let us know in the comments below. We love reading them. It just gives us more food for thought as well, doesn't it? It helps us as well to just think even more. So yeah, please comment below and remember to follow us on our socials.
Yeah, so please like and subscribe, and we will see you next time on the therapy floor with Dr. Vicky
and Dr. Ritz.
Take care.
See you next time.
Bye.